Hi, this is Professor Cummings, and this is the introduction of Module 1 for Lean Six Sigma. Now, when we think of Lean Six Sigma, we tend to think of manufacturing, and there's a good reason for that. It's because Lean and Six Sigma, both of those practices have been introduced to us through manufacturing environments. They were the first to implement Lean, and they became the most famous and probably the most successful in the United States with using Lean Six Sigma. Even in Japan, Lean and Six Sigma were both introduced to society through the manufacturing industry. But this isn't always the case. Lean and Six Sigma both have applications well outside of the manufacturing industry. For example, there's Lean and Six Sigma healthcare applications. A company I worked for actually did a lot of work with lean healthcare, taking a lot of waste out of hospitals' practices and out of different laboratory conditions for medical applications. And then there's Lean Office as well as Six Sigma Office. So you can look at Lean Office and see it as a way of taking waste and non-value added activities out of the office, out of the general office space. Now, normally you see Lean, and most people have some idea of what Lean is, and some people have an idea of what Six Sigma are, but you don't oftentimes hear these terms together. But for those of you who don't know what they are, let's go through and do some definition. So what is Lean and what is Six Sigma, and what are the differences? Because we hear them in the same context oftentimes. Usually it's some sort of way of doing an improvement. We know that for a fact. We know that companies oftentimes ask for people with lean experience or lean backgrounds or who understand Six Sigma, but they don't really specify what it is about Lean and what it is about Six Sigma that they're looking for. So let's look and see what the difference is. So if we were to compare Lean and compare Six Sigma, we could kind of say where each one of those tend to move towards, where they tend to gravitate. If we look at Lean, Lean you will see tends to be focused more on efficiency, being able to take a lot of the waste out of a process, being able to get a process to where it's not doing a whole lot of unnecessary movement. There's also an element of speed involved in Lean. Lean is very focused on things like how long it takes for a product or a process to go through a complete cycle. And like I alluded to before, there's a high focus on reducing non-value added activities. This is going to be going over more in future lectures. So Lean is really about taking waste out of a process or making a process much more efficient, much more faster, and reducing non-value added activities. Now, how is that different from Six Sigma? Well, Six Sigma in the blue is more about quality. It's about increasing quality, you're worried about what it is you're going to do in order to make the best product that you possibly can. It's also about reducing variability, being able to minimize or reduce how much standard deviation you are moving from a mean. And it's also heavily into problem solving or finding the root cause of different issues. And I'm going to just say it for the sake of simplicity, in a manufacturing environment. So Six Sigma is more about quality, variability, you could think of that as performance, as well as it's heavily into the scientific method, or what Six Sigma calls the DMAIC process, which is based off of the scientific method. So root cause analysis and problem solving. So that's sort of how they're both of their tendencies between Lean and Six Sigma. Now, what about bringing these two together? So we bring Lean and Six Sigma together, and we're going to try and get the best of both worlds. And that's what you're here to study for this semester, which is Lean Six Sigma, which is what this is an introduction for. So what exactly is Lean Six Sigma? Like I said, it's the best of both worlds. It puts a whole new emphasis on transforming the business that you're applying it to. Not only are you streamlining the process, you're also increasing the quality of the product. Like I said, you're improving the product as well as you're increasing customer satisfaction. So that is the best of both streamlining the process, getting rid of all your non-value added activities, as well as increasing the quality. Your customers win, you win, and your overall business wins. So for Module 1, This is module 1. It's just an introduction module to Lean Six Sigma. So what are you going to learn from module 1? First, we're going to give you the actual definitions of Lean and Six Sigma. So today I just showed you, or in this lecture I just showed you some emphasis on where Lean tends to have emphasis and where Sigma has emphasis. But that's not a complete definition. So you'll get a real definition, a working definition of Lean and Six Sigma. You'll get to see how they're actually applied. So there is some way of looking at how you're actually using both of these concepts. You're going to understand the different kinds of waste. Lean has been worked out to a science, and there are 7 types of waste that gets categorized by Lean, or as the Japanese use the term muda. You're going to also understand why variation is such an issue and what it is about Six Sigma that tries to attack or try to address variation. We'll also go through a lot of the definitions and keywords. So this introduction to Lean Six Sigma is really about just getting your feet wet. And this entire module is about helping you get the basic talking points, get the vocabulary down, and to understand some of the basic premises and a little bit of the history behind Lean and Six Sigma. So these the first module contains 4 lectures. The first lecture after this one is going to be what is Lean, and in that one I'll give you a bit of a background on Lean. I'll go through some of the 7 different types of waste, or I'll go through the 7 different types of waste, as well as some of the history and how Lean was actually derived over several decades. The next lecture, lecture 2, is going to be going over Six Sigma. Why Six Sigma, how Six Sigma has been applied, and what the implications behind Six Sigma really are. And then lecture 3 is a case study where I actually go over an actual company that applied Lean Six Sigma and what their benefits were. In each one of these modules, or each one of these lectures, there's going to be the full-blown lecture. Then at the end there's going to be some basic questions for you to think about, what concepts you gain from each one of the lectures. And then of course for the entire module there will be an actual assessment or a quiz for you to take that ties to this module and help reinforce your understanding. So if there's anything that you didn't get from that assessment, it's really on you to take the assessment and understand your score. If you didn't, go back and rewatch any of the lectures and try and go and see if you can get a better understanding on it, if you don't get an acceptable score. So again, this first module is really about getting a good understanding of Lean and Six Sigma and just the basic foundations of it. So again, this is Professor Cummings. Thanks for taking the class. I hope you enjoy the future lectures, and I'll talk to you soon.